Intro's over. So today I'm going to be talking about all the graphic novels and comics that I read in January. So I did a little poll on Instagram asking if I should separate my comics, graphic novels, and manga into one wrap-up and do all the other physical books and stuff and audiobooks in another one. And it was pretty much 50-50, and I think all together actually won. But then I started thinking about the fact that I've read 36 books this month, and talking about 36 books in one video is just going to stress me out about how long it is, and that people who want to watch the graphic novel one can just watch this one. So I read 12 graphic novels in the month of January, and before we talk about them, look at this look! I just feel so much like myself. I have these moments sometimes when I'm watching my old videos and I'm like, wow, is that me? And I know this moment right now is gonna be one of those in a couple months. I'm like, oh, I used to look so good. I used to look so much like myself. It's so weird. That's me. Do you ever get that looking at photos of yourself? You're like, that's me. My brain is inside there and I'm perceiving myself from there. But then I'm looking. Let's talk about the actual books that graphic novels and comics I read this month. I didn't read any manga. Not sure why. The first comic that I read this month was Adventure Time Volume 6. So if you don't know this already, I'm obsessed with Adventure Time. It's my favorite thing in the world. I love it so much. It's the most colorful, innocent, deep, meaningful thing in the world, and I've just been enjoying working my way through these graphic novels so much. The sixth one, this one, not my favorite. I gave it 3 stars, and I think the more you read it, the more you're getting used to the thing, like the more you want new stuff, and just getting a story isn't really original or good enough, which is a bit sad. But if you haven't heard of these comics, they have some really cool features. They have a really amazing varied artist gallery, cover gallery in the back that I always look forward to looking at when I'm done reading it. And did you hear that sound? The art is pretty much exactly like the show, and what this one does that maybe is like, which I think is super unique and cool, is that the person that's like telling you the story is commentating, like commenting on the story as you go along down here. So there's a green text down here who's like commenting on the action, and it's so funny. That's my favorite part of this. I love when graphic novels do that. I think that's the best thing ever. I still gave this like 3 stars. I obviously love Adventure Time. I just expect a lot at this point. Ooh, it feels so weird talking about only the graphic novels. The next one I read was Gunland. So I picked this up because the synopsis sounds super cool. It takes place in this like bizarre sci-fi world where there's like kind of the evil people or the bounty hunters. They ride dinosaurs, and our main protagonists are kind of these like cowboys with special powers, and you follow this one girl who accidentally lands in this universe through like an alternate dimension, and she's like the only one who can save these 3 brothers who are like cursed with a gift that they got from their father. It's like, and I think the story is amazing. I think that the concept is great. The art is like amazing, and just like, wait, let me show you. Look at those dinosaurs, man. And they ride the dinosaurs, and it's like almost like a western. I don't really like cowboy stuff. I think I mentioned that in my last video. But then there's also some characters. Look at like all these pictures, and then there's one character that I would really like. She looks like this, which is really cool. And I love our main character, the girl. She's just so kick-ass, and she literally like just trains and learns how to use a gun. And it has a 3.38 rating on Goodreads, and I just don't understand, like, this is a good book. This is a good graphic novel. Maybe the pacing's a bit off, but it's just so unique, you know? And it's so fun, and it's such an adventure. And this says it's like a volume 1, and I found a new obsession with these glossy paged graphic novels series. That's like my new favorite thing. So I actually gave it 4 stars. It's not a new favorite, but I absolutely can't wait to continue the series. I think this was so worthwhile reading. The next one that I picked up was Dungeon Critters by Natalie Reese and Sarah Goetter. This one's been like blurbed by a lot of famous graphic novel writers. It is like super colorful. Like and it tries like all these different stuff throughout the book. So you're following this little gang called the Dungeon Critters. This story is a bit convoluted, and it took me a while to understand the story, but don't worry because the conclusion sort of explains all of it. So I'm not gonna go super into what it's about because explaining the story kind of like ruins it in a way. But there's this plant that's kind of been killing people, and there's some like mistaken identity stuff going on. It's about this gang like infiltrating the royals in this world. Basically all animals can talk, and this snake has like arms and hands. And I was reading it when I was visiting my family. My little brother's like, why does that snake have arms and legs? I'm like, why not? He's like, why can that cat like use fire? And I'm like, why not, you know? So this turned out to be better than I expected because the story is really, really, really clever, and these characters are super, super distinct, and they just stick with you. I remember these characters super, super vividly, and I just still know who they are, and I think the character work was excellent and done really well. I think it's really good, and I really liked it. I do have a few issues with it, and the main one that just bothered me endlessly is how the colors of the bubbles change. So I've noticed that this is like a perk that it really, really bothers me when graphic novels do this or comics. It really bothers me because there's no purpose to it. Like, I understand it if it's like different characters, but even then it just bothers me. Here is another example. You can see some boxes are this color, or this color, and I just didn't like it, and that bothered me. I gave it 4 stars, but I also think this is like, these are so underrated. Like, both of these don't have a lot of reviews at all, and I think it's so unfortunate because they're absolutely amazing. After that, I picked up the Anne of Green Gables graphic novel adaptation by Mariah Marston and illustrated by Brenna Thumler. So I'm a huge Brenna Thumler fan. I think her art is amazing, and I didn't know about this until Ariel talked about it, so obviously I had to check it out. The art is stunning. I loved it, and it's very papery and it's very pastel. Like, it has these beautiful nature spreads. I'm not familiar with the story of Anne. I haven't watched the show, I haven't read the books, so if you don't know, like me, it's about this elder couple who adopts a child, and they think it's gonna be a boy, but it turns out to be a girl, Anne, and they decide to keep her anyways. And Anne is this lively spirit who just has so many ideas. She takes initiative, but she doesn't really always know what's right and wrong. And following her as a character was really fun. I really liked her. And like I said, like, the illustration is really what makes this graphic novel great. But if I can predict something, is that if you know of the story, you're probably gonna like this more because it's very much an overview, I think, of Anne's entire arc, but it's done in like one small graphic novel. And I think considering that it was done really well, where you like got to zero in on certain scenes, it wasn't just someone telling you the story in a very brief of everything. Like, there were stuff that was very well explained, but still, I don't know, I gave it 3 stars, but still, like, the illustrations was just really amazing. After that, I picked up Delicates, also by Brenna Thumler. The second one in the Sheets duology, I believe. It was so good. Sheets follows this main character who has recently lost her mom, I think Marjorie, and her dad's kind of depressed, and her little brother's sort of struggling, and she's really carrying her family through this hard time. But she's just in her early teens. And so she's taking care of their laundromat that they live at, and she discovers this like ghost that looks like a sheet there. And the second one was just so much better. It is phenomenal. It was so good. And it's released, I think, in March. I think the due date got pushed up 1 week. 26th of March, I believe. Is that right? Do you remember that right? It was so good. I recommend picking up the first one and reading it just so you can read the second one. It really, really affected me. It talks a lot about bullying and being a standby to bullying, like watching it happen, not doing anything about it. I loved it. It has to do with photography, and it like pained me to read a lot of it because Marjorie makes just a lot of terrible choices, and she's in this gang of friends that are just really bad for her. But the ending got me crying so hard. Like, I was sobbing with the tears. Definitely worth the read. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. There will be an individual review that goes up on the release date. After that, I picked up The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. So this is sort of the sequel, sort of companion novel to the Tea Dragon Society that I read by them, and I really like this one. I think the story is really beautiful, and the way that just nature is part of every aspect of this. And the thing I really enjoy in particular in this one is how there are deaf people in this one. And you can see here, it's like in the beginning there's a disclaimer about the American Sign Language, how it is drawn, and when someone's speaking and like signing it at the same time. And I really love that because I have a character in the graphic novel that I'm hopefully starting to write. Like, it's just really hard to get started. I mean, I've already started writing it, but it's just like a long, hard process because my ideas and thoughts are really changing a lot along the way. So I keep having to like take a break and think about what I actually want, where I actually want to go. There's one character that is deaf, and having this representation, an idea of how you can do it, was just really cool. And I loved how it was very normal for the whole town to just adjust to this person being deaf, and that's normal, that everyone now knows how to do sign language. And then that was just lovely. Like, that's what we want in life, in our society. So I thought that was lovely. I mean, the Tea Dragon story was great. I think there's certain scenes that, I mean, it's much thicker than the other one, which I did appreciate in many ways, and sometimes there's a lot of scenery. I think I've described that before with Katie O'Neill's books. Like, there's a lot of, like, this is a very nice scene, but there's a lot of scenery pictures, so even though it's a bit thicker than the other one, it definitely doesn't feel like it. Isn't that just gorgeous? Yes. Wow. Ooh, I just wanted to talk about a quote that is in this one. It says, "Just because something comes easily to you does not mean it has no value. You find it effortless because you love it, and that's why it is your gift." I thought that was a very beautiful quote. But yeah, I really appreciated this. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think the story was a bit lacking. Like, it could have been a bit more work, but the whole thing is just very calm and lovely. Hi, I just wanted to pop in here randomly and tell you that this book, Mooncakes, which I haven't read yet, I accidentally ordered 2 copies of it. I know, what a mistake, but I have decided that when I reach 5K on YouTube, I will be doing a giveaway of this book, so please like, share my channel, my videos, any way you can, and maybe you'll have a chance of winning a copy of this wonderful queer graphic novel. So the next one I picked up was The Underfoot, The Mighty Deep by Ben Fisher, Emily S. Whitten, and Michael Nguyen. And I gave this 2 stars, I believe. Yeah, I gave it 2 stars. It's insane to me that this has a higher rating than this one. I think this one's so much better. But this one, first off, I think it's a bit confusing. Like, I'm not really sure what even the story is, but it's about these hamsters who live underground long into the future. They've basically gotten sentient, and they have this underground tribe where they teach these small hamsters how to be like soldiers for different types of protection stuff. And the idea is really cool, and I like a lot of things about this. I like when we got the original story, the origin story of how they become sentient. That was great. I liked all the characters. I think the distinction between the different hamsters could have been worked on a bit, because like hamsters look a lot alike, and some of them I was like, oh boy, like the amount of characters I think should have been cut. The art is great. It looks like this. It is one of those glossy paged spreads, and between every chapter there is a bit of like lost pages from human eras about the hamsters, which comes into like play later on. And there's also these character sheets with like their personalities and stuff, which I think was like one way to separate them, but I kind of wish like all of these would have been in the beginning, so that like if you saw a hamster and you didn't know which one it was, you could go back to the front and like see who they were, instead of having them like at the start or end of every chapter, because then I wouldn't know where to find them. So I liked the idea, but all in all, it was just a little confusing. I was kind of a bit bored throughout it, but I really appreciate this one because I was reading this and I'm like, oh no, this concept is very similar to my graphic novel. Oh boy. And I was like, oh no, has someone already done it? But no, it's very different. But still, I felt like this was a good input for me to have and a good inspiration. I'm glad I read it, even though I gave it 2 stars. After that, I picked up Steven Unia's Warped Tour. This is the first one in the ongoing series, I believe, like the ongoing comics. Yes, this was very much a Steven universe. Like, it's very accurate to the show. It's very true to the show. The art is very simple, but you had this scene. I'm just obsessed with Stevani. But some spreads are also like this, so you can see like some spreads are a lot of work in, and this is, you know, not so much because of the color blobs in the background. But I still gave this 5 stars because it was just exactly like Steven Universe, and that's exactly what I needed. It was just fun, it was easy to follow, the jokes were great, all the characters were on point. I'm also a big Steven Universe fan, and I just really love these, and I'll definitely be continuing soon. This one's not written like one big story, it's many stories that just kind of random. Yeah, I loved it. After that, I picked up this one, Rick and Morty, the Little Poopy Superstar. So Mr. Little Poopy Butthole, Mr. Poopy Butthole is this guy right here from the Rick and Morty series. So this is sort of like his separate backstory and arc and where he's been all this time. And this is by Sarah Graley, and I don't know if that you like remember that, but Sarah Graley is the person who wrote Glitch, which was one of my favorite top 5 graphic novels of last year. And I got this like many years ago, and it turns out Sarah Graley like fucking signed this one. Isn't that so insane? Like, I had no idea she drew this. I had no idea she created this. I had no idea that it was signed by her. I remember seeing this in the store. I think it was during my bookshop tour in the UK, or in London, I mean. And I just thought like, wow, this is signed by one of the illustrators. That's pretty cool. I'll buy it because it was like on sale and stuff. And now I'm like, Sarah Graley, I love you. And now I have a signed edition of one of her books, and isn't that just crazy? So yeah, I've ordered everything she's ever created. I clearly have a new obsession because her art is, oh, should I show you some of the art? Here's one spread that's kind of unique. And I think that there's certain chapters that honestly could have just been cut out completely, where you follow Morty, what he's doing, at the same time this is going on. But this is a Summer and Lil Poopy Butthole story. It's not about the other characters. And I think another illustrator kind of made the other chapters parts. And the art is very different from the show because it is Sarah Graley's very distinctive art style. But then you also have these chapters where the art style is completely different. I think it's one of the other illustrators and writers. I just really like her art. I think it's very cute. And just her expressions are just so animated and severe, and I just adore that. I gave this one 4 stars. Even though I love the art, I'm not loving the story. It was good, it was worth the read, but I'm not like obsessed with it. In Adventure Time, there's this board game called Card Wars, which I wish was real so bad. There's this whole episode dedicated to how Jake is so obsessed with Card Wars that he like cannot control himself. This one is kind of like Fiona and Cake is doing this like tournament. I feel like I can explain this so badly. Fiona and Cake are like the gender swap version of Finn and Jake. Cake is doing the card war tournament in this one, and it has some like twists and turns at the end. Generally, I enjoyed it. Card Wars is just like the best game ever. So Card Wars is this board game where you lay out these different cards, but everything like in Adventure Time, everything's animated, and the stuff like pops up out of the board, and they like attack the other side of the person you're playing with. And the cards are just so random and insane, and I don't understand how anyone can make out what will actually happen and like plan something and strategize in Card Wars, because it's just, to me, it's so random. I gave it 3 stars. I think it was well done. It was well written. Honestly, I know everyone's obsessed with the gender swap versions of people, but I'm not in love with it. Like, I know everyone else who loves Adventure Time is in love with it. I love the gender swap version of Marceline, and they're all in here. Oh, I mean gender swap. It's actually a fan fiction story that the Ice King has written about Finn and Jake. Yeah, here's some of the spreads. Ooh, that's what I was gonna mention, and something that really, really bothered me in this one is how, oh, now I remember why I gave it so low. Look at this spread, okay? Just look at it. Here it has one color, here it has like sparkles in the background. Here's a purple with sparkles in the background. Then this one has some like random waves in the background. Then we have like dots in the background, other dot pattern in the background, purple background. Like all the backgrounds to like these bubbles are different, and it just endlessly bothered me. Why do you need these patterns in the background of these speech bubbles? Like, I'm just clueless as to why they thought that was necessary. Like, at least just have like a cohesive, coherent background. Here's another one. Here we have like dots, wiggles, lines, smash lines, dots, colors, vertical lines up here. Like, I just think it was a mess, and I think it was a terrible choice by the illustrator or whoever did that, and it just really bothered me. Okay, we only have 2 more to talk about. So this one, maybe a lot of you are gonna be really excited about. This is the She-Ra comic. I believe there's only 1 out. Maybe the second one's come out. I'm not sure yet. But She-Ra is, wow. I'm so excited about this reboot version of She-Ra, and I'm so excited that it's adapted by Noelle Stevenson. This one is created by Gigi Digi and Paulina Ganucheau. It was all right. Honestly, I was a little bit disappointed by it because I feel like if you're gonna make a comic, it has to be like at least as good as the show in many ways, and it must add something. I feel like you can't just, I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want, but I feel like it can't just be like another version, another episode that doesn't really do much to it. Like, I really wanted there to be something more that we learn. And I didn't really feel like I got that. I gave it 3 stars, I believe. Like, it was okay, the art was good, and the characters were very on point the whole time, and I feel like the color scheme was very on point. There was a lot of fight scenes. But what I do have to tell you, like, Scorpia is here and stuff, so this is after this first season, and sometimes I get confused. Like, I think the comics should be able to be read either after the show is made or regardless of where you are in the show. So like you can read it before the show, in the middle of a show, whatever. And I feel like you should have seen maybe the 1st and 2nd season before you jump into this one, which I feel like is confusing and maybe a bit unnecessary. But so I just have to mention this. This paper quality, it's not glossy, it's not matte, it's somewhere in between. And you can just tell that they put money into this edition, and yeah, like you can really feel how good quality it is. Here's some more of the arts. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I'm a bit underwhelmed by it, to be honest. Then the last one that I read was Aster of Pan. I have a whole book review for this up that's quite short, so I'm just going to tell you it's post-apocalyptic, French translated, adult graphic novel. I really adored it. I recommend you check it out, and if you want more information on it, please check out my review. I like the characters, like the story, the ending was great. It has beautiful watercolor art. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and chatting with me about some graphic novels and comics. I hope you enjoyed this unnecessarily in-depth long video. It's not necessary. I loved it. I love talking. This is my channel. I can talk about graphic novels and comics however long I like. So comment down below if you read any of these and your thoughts on them. If you made it this far into the video, leave a sword, a She-Ra sword emoji down below. Is there a She-Ra sword emoji? If there's not a sword emoji, I will be upset. There is a sword emoji. Sorry. If you're on your phone, leave a sword emoji down below if you made it this far into the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for chatting with me. I hope you're all having a really, really good day. I wish you all so much love. Take care of yourself. Give me some recommendations down below.
I would be so grateful. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.